message is being aired on Stewart Island FM 91.4 and all local television channels. The purpose of this broadcast is to inform residents of an imminent severe cold front and issue an evacuation advisory. This advisory is effective as of 2 p.m. and ZST on May 18th, 2032, and will remain in effect until further notice. A dangerous cold front is rapidly approaching Stewart Island from the south. Temperatures are predicted to drop dramatically, potentially reaching as low as minus 15 degrees Celsius within the next 24 to 48 hours. This extreme cold is expected to persist for an extended period, with current models suggesting it may last for several weeks. The most severe temperature drop is anticipated to begin within the next 6 to 12 hours. All areas of Stewart Island will be affected by this cold front. Evacuations are strongly advised for the entire island population, including Oban, Half Moon Bay, and all outlying settlements. The New Zealand Defence Force, Coast Guard, and local ferry services will be coordinating evacuation efforts. Civil, Defence Emergency Management and Red Cross New Zealand will be assisting with relocation and temporary housing on the mainland. For those who choose to remain on the island, be aware that conditions will become increasingly hazardous. Rapid ice formation is expected on all roads, making travel extremely dangerous or impossible. Power outages are likely due to ice accumulation on power lines. If you must stay, ensure you have adequate heating supplies, non-perishable food, and water for at least 2 weeks. Insulate your home as much as possible, and be prepared for potential isolation. Emergency shelters are being established in Bluff and Invercargill to accommodate evacuees. These shelters, managed by Civil Defence and the Red Cross, will provide temporary housing, food, and basic medical care. Upon arrival in Bluff, you will be directed to the appropriate shelter based on your needs. If you have friends or family on the mainland who can accommodate you, please inform evacuation coordinators to help manage shelter capacity. We urge all residents to take this advisory seriously and begin evacuation preparations immediately. Your safety is our primary concern. Regular updates will be provided through this broadcast channel. Thank you for your attention to this critical message and your cooperation during this emergency situation.
This is One News at 6, bringing you the latest updates on the unfolding situation in Stewart Island. As of today, over 380 residents have been successfully evacuated to the mainland following the issuance of an evacuation advisory due to a severe cold front. Ferries and naval vessels have been working tirelessly to transport evacuees across Foveaux Strait to Bluff, where they are being processed and relocated to emergency shelters. Temporary accommodations have been established in Bluff, Invercargill, and as far north as Gore, with Civil Defence and Red Cross managing operations. The cold front continues to intensify, with temperatures on Stewart Island already plummeting below minus 10 degrees Celsius, and expected to drop further in the coming hours. Snow and ice have rendered most roads impassable, and power outages are reported across the island. Officials warn that conditions will become uninhabitable within 24 hours due to extreme cold and hazardous ice storms. Residents who remain on the island are urged to evacuate immediately or risk being trapped without essential services.
Alright, I've just finished running the latest data from our associates in Stewart Island. The temperatures have already dropped below minus 15 degrees Celsius, and they are still falling. But here's the alarming part, this cold front isn't stationary. It's moving north, and fast.
North? How far are we talking? Are we looking at just Southland, or is this going to affect Otago as well?
If the current trajectory holds, it won't stop at Southland. We are projecting it will cover most of the lower South Island over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Temperatures could plunge below -20 degrees Celsius in some areas, maybe even lower.
This doesn't make sense. A cold front this intense and mobile, what could be driving it? Have we ruled out any atmospheric anomalies or polar vortex disruptions?
We've ruled out the usual suspects. There's no significant shift in the polar jet stream, and no major Antarctic weather systems that explain this. It's almost like this front is self-sustaining. But we don't know why.
If this continues unchecked, entire regions could become uninhabitable. Have you alerted Civil Defense or Met Service yet? They'll need to start planning evacuations immediately if these projections are accurate.
Not yet, but I'm drafting a report now. We'll need to escalate this to Wellington by tonight. If we are right about the timeline, Southland has days at best before conditions become critical.
And Otago? What's the time frame for Dunedin and surrounding areas?
Otago might have a week or 2 before it starts feeling the brunt of it. But if temperatures drop below -20 degrees like we are predicting, infrastructure will fail, roads will freeze over, power lines will collapse under ice buildup. We need to act fast.
Thank you all for coming. As you're aware, the cold front has already devastated Stewart Island, and temperatures are now plummeting across Southland. Our data suggests that this front will continue moving northward, potentially impacting Otago, Canterbury, and the west coast within weeks. We need to discuss evacuation plans before conditions worsen further.
Invercargill and Bluff are our immediate priorities. We've already seen snow accumulation making roads treacherous. If we don't begin evacuations now, we risk isolating tens of thousands. But we need clarity. How much time do we realistically have before Southland becomes uninhabitable?
Based on current models, Southland has less than a week before temperatures drop below -25 degrees Celsius. Conditions will rapidly deteriorate after that. Bluff and Invercargill could see power failures within days due to ice buildup on infrastructure.
If Southland evacuates first, where will those people go? Dunedin is already seeing an influx of evacuees from Stewart Island. We can't manage a sudden surge without overwhelming shelters and resources.
We can absorb some evacuees in Timaru and Christchurch, but our capacity is limited. If Otago becomes affected next, we'll be stretched thin ourselves. We need to prioritise transport routes to ensure people can move north safely.
What about us? The Haast Pass and other key routes are already seeing icy conditions. If this front reaches us, evacuation by road won't be an option. Are there plans for air or sea evacuations?
We recommend a staged evacuation starting with Southland immediately. Bluffsport can handle ferries to move people north to Otago and Canterbury. For the west coast, air evacuations may be necessary if roads freeze over completely.
Agreed, Bluffsport is critical, but we need more ships and coordination with the Navy to expedite the process. Shelters in Gore, Dunedin, and Timaru must be prepared to handle the influx.
We'll need clear communication with evacuees about what to bring and where to go. Without proper guidance, panic will spread.
Let's not forget long-term planning. If this front continues northward, we'll need contingency plans for Christchurch as well. We can't assume this stops at Otago.
Understood. For now, let's finalize an advisory for Southland's evacuation while monitoring developments closely in Otago and the west coast. We'll reconvene in 48 hours with updated data.
Good evening, this is One News at 6 with the latest updates on the escalating cold front crisis in the South Island. Earlier today, NIWA and representatives from Southland, Otago, Canterbury, and the West Coast convened in Dunedin to address the growing threat. Discussions focused on evacuation plans as temperatures in Southland continue to plummet, with Invercargill and Bluff expected to face life-threatening conditions within days. Officials have issued an evacuation advisory for Southland, prioritizing Bluff's port as a key hub for ferrying residents northward to safer regions. Temporary shelters have been prepared in Dunedin, Gore, Timaru, and Christchurch to accommodate evacuees. Civil Defence and Red Cross teams are coordinating efforts to provide food, medical care, and housing. However, disagreements arose during the meeting over resource allocation and logistics, particularly concerning access to the remote west coast. NIWA warns that Otago may soon face similar conditions if the cold front continues its northward trajectory.
This is an emergency broadcast issued by the Southland Regional Council in coordination with Met Service and Civil Defence. This message is being aired on Hokkaido 94.8 FM, Moore FM 89.2 FM, and RNZ National 101.2 FM for all residents of Southland. A severe snowstorm is rapidly approaching the region, with temperatures expected to drop below -30 degrees Celsius. The state of emergency is effective immediately and will remain in place until conditions improve. Please listen carefully to this broadcast for critical information on how to stay safe. A massive snowstorm spanning over 200 kilometers is moving northward at approximately 40 kilometers per hour. It is currently impacting southern coastal waters and will make landfall in Bluff by 2:30 p.m. today, just 3.5 hours from now. The storm will bring extreme cold, heavy snowfall, and dangerously low visibility. Residents are urged to prepare immediately as conditions will deteriorate rapidly once the storm arrives. Areas expected to be hardest hit include Bluff, Invercargill, Riverton, Winton, Gore, and Mataura. Bluff and Invercargill are forecast to experience temperatures as low as -32 degrees Celsius, with wind chills, making it feel even colder. Snow accumulation of up to 1 meter is expected in some areas, along with ice storms that may cause widespread power outages. Coastal flooding due to icy winds is also a possibility near Bluff. All major roads in the region are being closed, including State Highway 1 between Bluff and Invercargill, State Highway 6 toward Queenstown, and State Highway 98 connecting Longville and Riverton. Invercargill Airport has suspended all flights until further notice, and Bluff's port has been shut down except for emergency operations. Public transport services across Southland are cancelled for the day. Evacuations will be facilitated by civil defence teams if necessary. Residents are strongly advised to remain indoors during the storm. Use any available heating sources to stay warm, but ensure proper ventilation if using gas or wood burners. Stock up on essential items such as food, water, blankets, flashlights, and batteries. All schools and universities in the region, including James Hargest College and SIT, Southern Institute of Technology, are closed until further notice. Emergency services such as Fire and Emergency NZ, Fence, St. John Ambulance, and police will remain operational. The snowstorm is expected to last approximately 12 hours after making landfall, with conditions gradually improving by early tomorrow morning. However, significant snow buildup of up to 1 meter or more is likely in many areas. Ice accumulation on buildings may cause structural damage in some cases. Local authorities are working closely with civil defense to mitigate financial impacts and provide support for affected residents. For those unable to stay at home safely, emergency shelters have been established at Isle Stadium Southland in Invercargill, Bluff Community Hall in Bluff, Gore Town and Country Club in Gore, and Winton Memorial Hall in Winton. These shelters are equipped with heating, food supplies, and medical assistance provided by civil defense teams and Red Cross volunteers. Transportation to these shelters can be arranged through civil defense hotlines. Residents must prepare immediately by staying indoors or relocating to designated shelters if necessary. This broadcast has been issued by the Southland Regional Council in partnership with Met Service and Civil Defence at 11 a.m. today. Stay safe and stay tuned for further updates. Regular programming services will now continue.
Good afternoon. This is NewsHub reporting live as a severe snowstorm wreaks havoc across Southland. The storm made landfall in Bluff at approximately 2:30 p.m., bringing temperatures down to a deadly -31 degrees Celsius. Heavy snowfall and icy winds have caused widespread disruption, with Bluff and Invercargill among the hardest hit areas. Tragically, a multi-vehicle crash on State Highway 1 near Invercargill has left 3 people dead and several others injured, as visibility dropped to near zero. Structural failures are also being reported, including the partial collapse of a warehouse roof in Invercargill due to heavy snow buildup. Thousands of homes are without power as ice-laden winds have brought down power lines across the region. Emergency services are struggling to reach affected areas as roads remain impassable. Authorities urge residents to stay indoors and avoid all travel as conditions continue to deteriorate. The Southland Regional Council has declared a state of emergency as conditions continue to deteriorate. All flights at Invercargill Airport have been cancelled, and major highways, including State Highway 6 and State Highway 98, remain closed. Emergency shelters in Gore, Winton, and Invercargill are nearing capacity as more residents seek refuge from the storm. Officials warn that the worst is not yet over, with snowfall expected to continue into the evening, accompanied by gale force winds and freezing rain. Stay tuned to NewsHub for further updates on this unfolding emergency.
Updates on the Southland evacuation. Earlier today, the Southland Regional Council issued a mandatory evacuation order for the entire region as the catastrophic cold front continues to render large areas uninhabitable. The advisory, effective immediately, was broadcast on Hokonui 94.8 FM and RNZ National 101.2 FM and will remain in place until further notice. Residents are urged to leave their homes and seek safety in designated shelters or emergency housing further north in Canterbury and Marlborough. The storm has left Bluff, Invercargill, Riverton and Gore completely frozen over, with temperatures dropping below -30 degrees Celsius in many areas. Snow accumulation has reached over 1.5 meters in some places, making roads impassable and cutting off power to tens of thousands of homes. Entire communities are now uninhabitable due to the extreme cold and widespread infrastructure collapse. Emergency services report that conditions are worsening, with blizzard-like winds and ice storms continuing to devastate the region. Emergency shelters have been established in Canterbury and Marlborough to accommodate evacuees. Amenities such as Christchurch Arena, Timaru's Caroline Bay Hall, Blenheim's Marlborough Convention Centre, and Kaikoura Memorial Hall are now open for displaced residents. Hotels and motels across both regions have also made rooms available for emergency housing. Information on available shelters can be found on the Civil Defence website or by calling their hotline. Public transport is being mobilised to assist with evacuations. Intercity buses are running special services from Invercargill and Gore to Christchurch, while local taxi companies are offering free rides to evacuation points. The Port of Bluff has reopened temporarily for emergency ferry services transporting residents northward. Current temperatures in Southland remain dangerously low at -28 degrees Celsius, with wind chills making it feel closer to -40 degrees. The economic impact of this disaster is expected to be devastating for Southland. The region's agricultural industry has been decimated, with dairy farms and livestock operations completely frozen over. Tourism has also ground to a halt as iconic destinations like Milford Sound are inaccessible. The death toll from the storm has risen to 93 people, with fears that this number could climb as rescue efforts continue. Civil defence teams, emergency services, and local authorities are working tirelessly to ensure residents reach safety in Canterbury and Marlborough shelters. This evacuation effort is one of New Zealand's largest in recent history, highlighting the severity of the situation. Stay tuned to RNZ for further updates as this story develops.
This is an emergency broadcast issued by the Fiordland District Council in coordination with Civil Defence and Exodus. The broadcast is being aired on RNZ National 101.2 FM and Akui 94.8 FM for all residents of Turnhill and surrounding areas. A catastrophic landslide has occurred on Mount Luxmere, triggering a tsunami that is expected to impact Turnhill. This is a life-threatening emergency. Please listen carefully to these instructions. A massive landslide from Mount Luxmere has generated a tsunami wave estimated to be over 17 meters high. The wave is moving at approximately 80 kilometers per hour and is expected to reach Turnhill by 1:12 p.m. NZST, about 6 minutes from now. Residents are urged to seek high ground immediately. To escape the tsunami, move to high grounds such as the hills surrounding Turnhill, including the Kepler Track Hills or the Turnhill Domain. Use evacuation routes like the Turnhill-Manaporai Highway or the Kepler Track. Travel by foot or bike if possible. Do not use cars as they may become trapped in traffic. Avoid taking unnecessary items. Focus on reaching safety quickly. Similar events are occurring on other peaks, including Mitre Peak in Milford Sound, where a separate alert has been issued. The tsunami wave is expected to travel up Lake Turnhill for approximately 10 kilometers and will inundate areas up to 2 kilometers inland. Residents in nearby settlements like Manaporai should also be prepared for potential flooding. If you're caught in a tsunami wave, stay calm and try to grab onto any floating debris. Avoid trying to swim against the current. Instead, go with it and try to reach higher ground once a wave recedes. Use any available materials to protect yourself from the cold and debris. Stay alert for further instructions from emergency services. The ongoing cold front will pose a significant threat alongside the tsunami. Areas such as the Turnhill Community Centre and local schools will serve as emergency shelters once the immediate danger has passed. Residents are advised to stay indoors and avoid travel unless absolutely necessary. Emergency services are on standby to assist with evacuations and provide aid. The tsunami is imminent, and you have no time to waste. The estimated arrival time of the tsunami wave in Turnhill is now 4 minutes. Please move to high ground immediately.
This message has been issued by the Fiordland District Council in Civil Defence. Stay tuned for further updates as this situation develops.
This is One News with breaking news from Fiordland. A catastrophic series of landslides and tsunamis has devastated the region, with Mount Luxmore and Mitre Peak being among 6 mountains that collapsed between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. today. The landslides triggered massive tsunamis in Milford Sound and Lake Tsunami, causing widespread destruction and claiming the lives of at least 830 people. The economic damage is estimated to exceed $350 million, with entire communities buried under snow and debris. The disaster has affected not only Milford Sound and Tsunami, but also surrounding areas, including Manapuri and parts of the Kepler Track. 4 other peaks in the region, including Mount Otago, Mount Christina, and Mount Madeline, experienced similar collapses, leading to additional tsunamis and landslides. The waves have travelled up to 10 kilometres inland in some areas, inundating homes and businesses. The ongoing cold front continues to exacerbate conditions, with temperatures remaining below -20 degrees Celsius and heavy snowfall complicating rescue efforts. As of now, the death toll stands at 830, with over 1,200 injured and more than 500 people reported missing. Emergency services are working tirelessly to locate those missing and provide aid to affected communities. The situation is further complicated by the severe weather conditions, which have isolated many areas and made evacuation efforts challenging. Civil defence and local authorities are urging residents to remain vigilant and follow evacuation orders as the situation continues to unfold. Stay tuned to One News for further updates on this developing crisis.
This is an emergency broadcast issued by Met Service in collaboration with civil defence and local authorities. The broadcast is being aired on RNZ National 101.2 FM, More FM 89.2 FM, and all local television channels for residents of Lower Otago. This is a red severe weather warning, indicating that immediate action is required to protect people and property. The warning will remain in effect until further notice. Early warning monitoring systems have detected an imminent blizzard storm which will affect the Otago region. The blizzard is expected to impact southern Otago first, with areas around Bay Bluff and Milton being affected by 3:30 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time. The storm will then move northward, reaching Dunedin by 4 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time, finally affecting the coastal regions of Oana by 5 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time. The blizzard will last for at least 12 hours, with the most severe conditions expected during the first 6 hours. Residents are advised to prepare for extreme cold and hazardous travel conditions. The blizzard formed over the Southern Ocean and has grown to span over 120 kilometers across. It is expected to bring snowfall of up to 10 meters in some areas, with drifts potentially reaching even higher due to strong winds. The storm system is moving rapidly, and its impact will be felt across the entire lower South Island. Conditions will deteriorate rapidly once the blizzard makes landfall. Temperatures across the region will plummet to below minus 35 degrees Celsius in some areas, with the lowest temperatures expected in the rural districts of Clover and Waitaki. Even in urban areas like Dunedin, temperatures will drop to around minus 30 degrees Celsius. These extreme cold conditions pose significant risks, including hypothermia and frostbite. Icicles may form on structures, and frost will accumulate on roads, making travel extremely hazardous. All businesses, schools, and public facilities in Lower Otago will be closed until further notice. Dunedin Airport and Owenera Airport will be shut down, with all flights delayed or diverted. Major state highways, including State Highway 1 and State Highway 85, will be closed due to heavy snow and ice. Emergency services will be on standby to assist with any emergencies. Residents are strongly advised to remain indoors until the all clear is given. Wear warm, layer clothing, and keep essential items like flashlights, batteries, and non-perishable food handy. If conditions worsen over the next 12 to 24 hours, a potential evacuation of the Otago region may be considered. Stay tuned for further updates. Hazards during the blizzard include icicles forming on overpasses and low-hanging structures, hailstorms, and extremely dense snow cover that may reach up to 10 meters high in some areas. The blizzard will be so dense that visibility will be near zero, making navigation outdoors extremely dangerous. If you must venture outside, use extreme caution and stay close to shelter. Avoid traveling unless absolutely necessary. Emergency shelters will be open in Dunedin of the Edgar Centre, in Moskill at the Memorial Hall, in Bakelava of the War Memorial Hall, in Milton at the Milton Community Centre, in Owenera of the Owenera Opera House, and in Palmerston of the Palmerston Town Hall. These shelters will provide warm, food, and basic medical care. Civil defence teams and emergency services will be available to assist with rescue and evacuation efforts as needed. This blizzard warning is a critical alert for Lower Otago. Residents must prepare for extreme cold and hazardous conditions. Stay indoors, keep warm, and follow all instructions from local authorities. This broadcast has been issued by Met Service in collaboration with civil defence and local authorities. Please remain safe and stay tuned for further updates.
This is One News with breaking news from Otago. A severe blizzard has struck Lower Otago, causing widespread destruction and claiming the lives of at least 13 people within the first hour of its impact. The storm has affected areas from Balclutha to Dunedin, with reports of snowdrifts reaching up to 10 meters high in some areas. Over 50 people are currently reported missing, with rescue efforts hindered by extreme weather conditions. Met Service has described this blizzard as one of the most severe in recent history, with temperatures plummeting below minus 35 degrees Celsius and winds reaching speeds of over 100 kilometers per hour. The blizzard has resulted in the closure of major roads, including State Highway 1, and all airports in the region have been shut down. Emergency services are working tirelessly to assist those stranded or injured, with shelters set up in Dunedin and surrounding towns to accommodate those displaced. Met Service spokespersons have emphasized that this blizzard is unusually intense, with conditions expected to persist for at least 12 hours. This is a once-in-a-generation event, they stated, urging residents to remain indoors and follow all safety guidelines. As the situation continues to unfold, residents are advised to stay tuned for further updates and to prioritize their safety above all else.
This is a national emergency broadcast issued by the New Zealand government in collaboration with regional councils across the South Island. The broadcast is being aired on all major radio and television channels, including RNZ National and TVNZ, to inform residents of a critical situation affecting the entire South Island. A full-scale state of emergency has been declared due to the ongoing severe weather conditions. The situation in the South Island has deteriorated significantly over the past week, with extreme cold fronts causing widespread damage and loss of life. The cold front has already devastated regions such as Southland and Otago, with temperatures plummeting below -30°C and heavy snowfall rendering many areas impassable. Emergency services are stretched to their limits, and further assistance is being mobilized from the North Island. The government is working closely with regional councils to manage this crisis effectively. The decision to declare a state of emergency has been made due to predictions that conditions will worsen over the coming days. The cold front is expected to persist, potentially causing further infrastructure failures and making large areas uninhabitable. The South Island will face significant challenges in maintaining essential services, including power and communication networks. The government is committed to supporting affected communities through this difficult period. Emergency shelters are being established in the North Island to accommodate evacuees from the South Island. These shelters will be located in major cities such as Auckland, Wellington, and Hamilton, with a combined capacity to house over 50,000 people. The shelters will provide essential services, including food, medical care, and temporary housing. Civil defense teams and volunteers will manage these facilities to ensure a smooth transition for those displaced. The cold front is expected to last at least until June 10th, with evacuation procedures likely to continue throughout this period. The government is working to ensure that all necessary resources are in place to support evacuees and maintain public safety. Regular updates will be provided as the situation evolves. Residents are urged to remain vigilant and follow all instructions from local authorities. Residents in Southland, Otago, and the West Coast are advised to prepare for immediate evacuation. Shelters are being established in the North Island to accommodate those displaced. This broadcast has been issued by the New Zealand government in collaboration with regional councils. Please stay tuned for further updates and follow all instructions from local authorities to ensure your safety.
This is One News with the latest updates on the unfolding crisis in the South Island. As evacuations continue, the death toll has risen to over 12,800 people, with tens of thousands more stranded due to treacherous travel conditions. Invercargill and Bluff are among the hardest hit areas, with entire neighborhoods frozen over and buildings covered in thick layers of frost. The once thriving city centers are now eerily silent, with vehicles abandoned on streets as fuel lines freeze, rendering them inoperable. Dunedin, Alexandra, Queenstown and Gore are also severely affected, with scenes of buildings encased in ice and snowdrifts reaching up to 10 meters high. In Queenstown, the usually bustling ski resorts are now deserted and inaccessible, while in Gore, the town's central business district is frozen solid. The extreme cold has caused widespread infrastructure failures, including power outages and water supply disruptions, further complicating evacuation efforts. Emergency services are working tirelessly to reach isolated communities, but the scale of the disaster is overwhelming. The situation remains dire across the South Island, with no signs of improvement in the immediate future. The cold front continues to intensify, with temperatures plummeting below -30°C in many areas. Invercargill's historic buildings, such as the Alexandra buildings, are among those affected, with concerns about structural integrity due to the extreme weather conditions. As the crisis deepens, the government and emergency services are urging residents to remain indoors and follow all evacuation orders to ensure their safety.
has been relentless, with temperatures consistently below -20 degrees Celsius across the lower South Island. We're seeing unprecedented snow accumulation and ice buildup on infrastructure, which is causing widespread power outages and making travel impossible. The situation is dire, and we're concerned about the long-term effects on the region's ecosystem.
I agree. The scale of this event is unprecedented. We've been monitoring the cold front's progression, and it's clear that it's not just the temperature but also the wind chill that's exacerbating conditions. The wind speeds are so high that even if temperatures rise slightly, the effective temperature will remain extremely low.
We've been analyzing the latest satellite imagery and model runs. There's a concerning development. A massive ice storm is forming that will envelop most of the lower South Island for 20 hours. This storm will bring conditions that are uninhabitable and dangerous, with ice accumulation expected to be catastrophic. Unfortunately, it's likely to be the final blow from this cold front, and anyone trapped in the affected areas will be at extreme risk.
This is devastating news. We're talking about over 350,000 people still within the zone. Have we alerted civil defense and emergency services about the severity of this ice storm? We need to ensure that all possible measures are taken to evacuate those who can still be reached.
Yes, we've already informed them. The challenge now is reaching those who are isolated due to the existing weather conditions. We need to emphasize the urgency of this situation to the public and ensure that no one underestimates the danger of this ice storm.
I've been in touch with the Prime Minister's office, and they are considering declaring a national emergency to mobilize all available resources. This ice storm could be the tipping point for many communities, with many facing certain death, and we must act swiftly to mitigate its impact.
Let's finalize the data and get it to the government and civil defense. We need to stress that this is not just another cold snap, it's a life-threatening event that requires immediate action.
Agreed. We should also prepare for the aftermath, as the economic and social impacts will be significant. This event will change the landscape of the South Island for years to come.
I'll coordinate with Met Service teams to ensure that all necessary warnings are issued promptly. We'll work closely with NIWA to monitor the situation and provide updates as needed.
Let's keep the communication channels open. We need to be prepared for any developments and ensure that our response is coordinated and effective.
We should also consider the psychological impact on those affected. This has been a prolonged and traumatic event, and support services will be crucial in the coming weeks.
I'll make sure that's included in our briefing to the government. We need a comprehensive approach to address all aspects of this disaster.
This is an emergency broadcast issued by the Otago Regional Council in collaboration with Met Service and Civil Defence. The broadcast is being aired on RNZ National 101.2 FM and More FM 89.2 FM for all residents of Otago. A catastrophic ice storm is rapidly approaching the region, having already made landfall in Southland and moving northward at an alarming rate. Residents in Dunedin, Alexandra, Queenstown, Wanaka, Gore, Most Eel, and all other populated areas are at extreme risk. The predicted ice storm is massive, spanning over 200 kilometers across and moving at speeds of approximately 60 kilometers per hour. Temperatures are expected to drop below -45 degrees Celsius, with ice accumulation reaching up to 5 meters in some areas. The storm's density is high enough that visibility will be near zero, making navigation impossible. Areas such as Dunedin and Queenstown will be among the hardest hit, with a high likelihood of fatalities due to the extreme conditions. The storm is expected to last for several hours, with conditions becoming increasingly fatal as time passes. If you are exposed to these temperatures for an extended period, survival is unlikely. Emergency services will be unable to reach you during this time, and certain death is a real possibility if you are not in a safe, warm location. It is crucial that you take immediate action to protect yourself. While survival chances are minimal, generating as much warmth as possible is essential. Use any available heating sources, such as gas heaters or fireplaces, but ensure proper ventilation to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. If necessary, burn furniture or other flammable materials to stay warm, but do so safely. Stay close to any heat source and avoid exposure to the outside environment. The effects of the storm are expected to begin impacting Otago within the next 20 minutes, as it has already started affecting Southland. Reports from Southland indicate widespread destruction, with buildings collapsing under the weight of ice and temperatures plummeting to life-threatening levels. Otago will be impacted shortly, and residents must prepare for the worst. As the storm engulfs Otago, everything will be frozen solid, and survival will be extremely low. The situation is dire, and every effort must be made to survive until the storm passes. Use any means necessary to stay warm and safe. This broadcast is a final warning. Please take immediate action to protect yourself. This message has been issued by the Otago Regional Council in collaboration with Met Service and Civil Defence. Stay safe and stay tuned for further updates if possible.
Broadcasting live from a secure location in Queenstown on 92.2 FM, and we will remain on the air as long as conditions allow. The ice storm has already begun to impact our region, and we expect to be able to provide updates for the next few hours before it becomes too hazardous. Our team is committed to keeping you informed, but we urge everyone to prioritize their safety above all else. Please stay tuned for critical information and updates. The ice storm is having a devastating impact on Queenstown, with ice accumulation reaching alarming levels in areas like the Queenstown Gardens and along the waterfront. Temperatures have plummeted to below -40 degrees Celsius, making outdoor conditions life-threatening. It's estimated that fewer than 5,000 residents remain in the area, with many having evacuated earlier. Those who stayed behind are facing extreme danger and certain death. Parts of Lake Wakatapu, including the Frankton Arm and the Queenstown Bay, are completely frozen, with boats by the waterfront encased in thick ice. Reports are coming in of structural failures of key landmarks in the inner Queenstown area, such as the Skyline Gondola and parts of the Queenstown Mall. Emergency services are unable to respond due to the extreme conditions. Avalanches and landslides are occurring at notable ski fields and mountains around Queenstown, including Coronet Peak, the Remarkables, and the peaks of Ben Lomond and Cecil Peak. Queenstown Airport has been closed due to heavy ice accumulation on runways and extreme weather conditions. The situation is dire, with no signs of improvement in the immediate future. Residents are advised to stay indoors and avoid any travel unless absolutely necessary. For anyone remaining in Queenstown, the likelihood of death is extremely high if you are exposed to these conditions for an extended period. It is crucial that you remain indoors and use any available means to stay warm. We urge you to take immediate action to protect yourself, as emergency services are unable to reach you during this time. This broadcast will continue until we are forced to cease transmission due to the worsening conditions. Please stay safe and stay tuned for further updates if possible.
This is an emergency broadcast issued by the Canterbury Regional Council in collaboration with Met Service and Civil Defence. The broadcast is being aired on More FM 97.9 and The Breeze 89.9 FM for all residents of Canterbury. This broadcast concerns an imminent life-threatening weather threat which is currently affecting lower regions of the South Island. The storm, while less intense than in Otago, still poses a significant threat to life. Temperatures are expected to drop below -30°C, with wind chills making it feel even colder. Ice accumulation on roads and buildings will be hazardous, and residents are advised to avoid travel unless absolutely necessary. Areas such as Geraldine and Timuca are particularly vulnerable due to their proximity to the storm's path. Residents in these areas should prepare for potential power outages and ensure they have adequate heating and supplies. The Geraldine foothills may experience additional hazards due to the terrain, including increased risk of landslides. The ice storm is expected to last for several hours, with conditions gradually improving by late afternoon. However, the risk of hypothermia and frostbite remains high, especially for those exposed to the elements. Residents are advised to stay indoors and use any available means to stay warm. If you must venture outside, wear layered clothing and protect your extremities. Within areas such as Timaru, emergency shelters have been established at the Southern Trust Events Centre and Alpine Energy Stadium in Timuca. These shelters will provide warmth, food, and basic medical care for those in need. Residents are encouraged to seek shelter if they are unable to safely stay in their homes. Avalanches and landslides are possible in the Southern Alps, including areas around Mt. Cook and the Mackenzie Basin. Residents in these regions should be prepared for potential evacuations if conditions worsen. The storm's impact is being closely monitored, and updates will be provided regularly. The ice storm poses a significant threat to life, and residents must take immediate action to protect themselves. Stay indoors, stay warm, and follow all instructions from local authorities. This broadcast has been issued by the Canterbury Regional Council in collaboration with Met Service and Civil Defence. Please prioritise your safety above all else.
This is News Hub with the latest updates on the devastating ice storm that has ravaged the lower South Island this morning. The storm has dissipated, leaving behind a trail of catastrophic damage and unprecedented destruction. Areas such as Southland, Otago, and the West Coast were the hardest hit, with entire towns like Dunedin and Queenstown severely impacted. The estimated death toll is in the thousands, with many more reported missing as rescue efforts begin to reach isolated communities. The scale of the disaster is so vast that it will take weeks to fully assess the damage and recover from the loss of life. Rescue efforts are underway, with teams from civil defense and emergency services working tirelessly to locate survivors and provide aid. Key events during the storm included widespread power outages, structural collapses of buildings and bridges, and extreme weather conditions that made evacuation efforts nearly impossible. The storm's impact was exacerbated by the prolonged cold front that preceded it, leaving many areas already vulnerable. Rescue teams are expected to reach the most isolated areas within the next 48 to 72 hours, depending on weather conditions and access. As the situation continues to unfold, the government has pledged full support for affected communities, promising extensive resources for recovery and rebuilding efforts. As temperatures begin to return to normal levels, the freak weather event that has devastated the South Island since May appears to be coming to an end.
In other news, today marks 6 months since the devastating cold front ravaged the South Island, claiming over 80,000 lives and leaving many regions uninhabitable. The disaster had a profound impact on New Zealand's economy, with damages estimated at $4 billion, and has forever changed the landscape of the affected areas. Communities across the South Island continue to grapple with the aftermath, with many towns still largely abandoned. To commemorate this event, the Prime Minister has established a National Day of Remembrance has been established to honor those who lost their lives and to acknowledge the resilience of the survivors. The day serves as a reminder of the nation's collective grief and the ongoing efforts to rebuild and recover. As New Zealand reflects on this disaster, it also looks toward the future, with a renewed focus on disaster resilience and emergency preparedness to mitigate the impact of such events in the future.